little white. You can see it, right? And the rest is purple and blue. 16-year-olds, white here, rest is purple and blue. All right, and importantly, notice that male-female brain difference, especially different even at 20 years old. Where's the primary difference? At 20 years old, about half and half, white and purple and blue, right? Mainly difference down here. Can you see it? So sort of lower brain, mid-limbic system down into brainstem. Okay, I hope everyone can see that, and of course you can see it at home. That's really, really a big deal, actually. So, a couple things to say. One is, most of the people that you're dealing with are going to be pre-college. So this is good insight for all of us working with any kid who's 5, who's 10, who's 15, 16, etc., which is where most of us in child development, anyone in child development will work for, to understand that male and female brain are really different. And there it is. Okay, so that's one big takeaway. So we've got to alter systems to understand these differences. When we do suicide prevention, we've got to look at male and female. Since 4 to 1, right? Males are committing suicide in the US. 4 males for every 1 female. However, and this is an interesting brain difference, who is more likely to try suicide? Females, right? 3 to 4 times more likely to try suicide, but males 4 times more likely to carry it out. Actually, so a lot of it's right there in the way these brains are accessing what's going on inside of them, including trauma, pain, etc. Males, and I'll give you an example of it. Males, look at the 20-year-old, because that's where it's most stark. The 20-year-olds, the big differences are still down here, mid-lower limbic into brainstem. If you're going to commit suicide, you got to have a lot of blood flow there, right? Because you've got to go through with it. You have to circumvent the survival instinct, which is here and here. You got to circumvent it and get the body to do something. And that's controlled here. Males have more spinal fluid in the brainstem than females do, so more of male electricity goes down into the body, which I just gotta guess is no surprise to anybody, but you may not have known why. But right, in general, males are moving around more, right? They're fidgeting more, as you've already said. And I wear these running shoes, these nice running shoes, partly as a metaphor to try to help us to get that, to feel that, because part of the strategic help for any of these groups and these systems is make sure these guys are moving around more. Guys who are getting C's and D's in tests, one of the strategies you'll hear about this weekend and later in this is get them moving around because they can start getting B's and A's. Do 7 or 8 massive interventions, all of which you'll hear about, that are strategic, and every teacher does them, you can start raising grades, right? Because part of the reason is we didn't realize until we had the scans that, a lot of stuff going on for males is here. And so if they move around, they're sending the electricity back up, the electricity is going down because they're moving around. I, as a therapist, I do that. About 17 years ago, I changed my therapeutic practice because I wanted more males. I really wanted, guys need therapy as much as gals do, right? But who tends to stay in therapy? Females, right? And in fact, last year, 1 out of 10 new social workers, new counselors was male. 9 out of 10 were female. Okay, so great for them, so great for them. We don't want to put any, that's awesome for them. But it shows us something's going on in the counseling profession. And that's not awesome. We really need guys in counseling. So using this nature-based theory in the brain scans, I changed my therapy practice. When I offer this, by the way, to everyone, because I'm gender equal, I offer to everybody, male or female. I would like to take a walk with you for 10 minutes. Do you need that? Do you want that? Before we sit down. Every once in a while, a woman wants it, but mainly it's guys. Mainly guys will go, yeah, sure, I'll walk. So we walk around, 10 minutes. Sometimes there's a lot of silence as we're walking. We're seeing things. We're seeing cars, we're seeing snow. I live in Spokane, Washington, so we have snow, etc. Then we come in and we sit. So that 10 to 15 minutes of walking will have elicited some conversation, but sometimes it's quite silent. But when they sit down, much more of their brain is activated to talk about what they need to talk about, And then I also throw I throw things back and forth. And I started that about 15 years ago. So when I talk, I hold it. When it's their turn, I throw it to them. I'm going to throw it to you. Catch this. You did great. That's great, right? And the thing is, when a ball is coming at someone, can their brain be asleep? Not really. Even if their brain was like, I don't want to talk today. My wife forced me and I don't want to do it. their brain has to wake up to catch that ball, you know? And then it becomes, so then they'll say something, then they'll throw it back to me, I'll say something. So this is, I'm using my body as an object moving through space, their bodies are objects moving through space, and we're also throwing something back and forth. And obviously those of you who are teachers absolutely can do this. In our model schools and places that we go, teachers do this. They allow more movement. Even when kids are taking tests or writing, allow more movement. Some girls like it, but it's mainly guys who need it. And the guys are moving, and then they're writing. They're moving and they're writing. Or they're moving during a class discussion. The reason that we developed this innovation and tried to get this into the world was because we knew about these scans, right? We started looking at these 25, 30 years ago, and we could see how active the bottom half of the male brain is. So that made us realize we've got to get these males moving, we've got to use spatials so we can activate. And once we activate the right side through the spatials, they can cross it over to the verbals on the left. But if we just say to them, okay, sit down, start writing. Here's what I want you to write about. And we say that to 30 students, let's say 30 students, 15 male, 15 female. You know, what's going to happen? Right? You got some guys like me, obviously, I started reading at 4, I'm one of those 1 in 5, I'm going to write really quick. But a lot of guys, what's going to happen to those guys? If we just say, okay, sit down, I want you to write about what you did over Labor Day weekend. It's going to hard for them. They're just, right? They sit there, they're looking at the piece of paper, they're kind of sitting there, they can see that some other people are writing really quick, right? And they, you know, and that happens daily, right? Day after day after day. Because we didn't realize, wait a minute, we've got to stimulate, we've got to get the body to stimulate the right side. Okay, that's one way to do it. Or, now I'll give you another way to do it. Let's stimulate the visuals on the right side. So what males do on the right is spatial mechanicals, visual graphics. When they were banging the dolls together and taking the dolls apart, that was mechanical. Right? Take the dolls apart, put them together, bang them together, see what happens. That's mechanical problem solving. They're observing, seeing what happens. Throw it up and down. Throw it at him, or throw it at her, see what happens. Very mechanical. Spatial, obviously, is the moving. And then visual graphics, the other thing they're doing on the right. So another way to get them to write more is use the visual graphic strategy. Say, okay, if guys are so visual, which let's test that out with citizen science. Who tends to play video games? More boys or girls, right? And easy citizen science, more boys, right? Video games are, now let's look at that. It's virtual space. Objects move around, don't they? In virtual space, no matter what the game is, Assassin's Creed, Wii, whatever, however you do it, right? Nintendo, whatever it is, you've got games. Cars are moving really quick. Guys are hitting each other. Girls are hitting each other. You know, a lot of that's going on. Objects are moving in virtual space, and it's visual, right? It's visual. Visual graphic means I'm seeing it, and there are pictures. So it's clearly visual graphic, and it's spatial mechanical, and that's a big reason that I would say the primary neural reason that guys gravitate toward video games, and that girls can like them, girls like them, but in general, guys will gravitate toward them. Now, the downside of that is that guys created for themselves a way of being visual graphic that actually is dangerous. Actually can have dangers. Because if they spend too many hours overemphasizing the visual graphic, they actually will cut off blood flow and neural development to other parts of the brain, especially social emotionals, which are an area where males have difficulty anyway. And if we want proof that males have difficulty in social emotional development anyway, we have really great proof in our citizen science. Who are 2/3 of the autistic kids? Male or female? They're male. And what is autism, right? In terms of social emotionals. Difficulty picking up spatial cues, difficulty picking up social cues, right? Autism. So that whole spectrum, difficulty picking up facial cues, social cues. That's now we have about 1/3 of our autistic kids are female. So obviously anything, we all have what each other has, so anything can happen. But the primary reason I believe that more males get hit with it is that we don't have as many fail-safes in the male brain for social emotionals. And we don't. We do that in certain parts of the brain. And if we get mutations, de novo mutations on the genes, then that baby comes out with difficulties there. Those ragged edges on those chromosomes mutated, and one of the things male brain loses is social emotionals because we have so few areas doing that as compared to females, which we illustrated even early when we were looking at preschool.